And welcome back, everyone, to Between Bells and Baker Machado in New York. Today marks the start of Mental Health Awareness Month. Now, since 1949, the U.S. has observed this month as a way to spread awareness and also push the message that mental health is something that everybody should care about, no matter who you are or what you're going through. And also, it's important to remember, it's okay to not be okay. So joining us now to discuss is Leigh Richardson, founder and clinical director of the Brain Performance Center. Such a pleasure to have you here. Thanks so much for joining us. I mean, obviously, this past year was a difficult one for so many people, from dealing with the pandemic to many communities fighting against racism and injustice. So what would you say are some of the biggest mental health themes to really watch out for this month?
This is we've set a platform. It's Mental Health Awareness Month. And so pay attention to what's going on in your family. Pay attention to what's going on with your friends, because we just lost the national country star for mental health. And that to me sends a message. Mental health can happen to anybody, anytime. Doesn't matter how much money you have, doesn't matter how rich or famous you are. Mental health is just as important as your physical health. Treat your brain just like you might treat your heart. They both are organs in your body.
Absolutely. And in this week in particular, this first week of May is Children's Mental Health Week. What sort of things are important to keep in mind for children when it comes to evaluating and watching out for their mental health?
Well, children, adolescence really is when, early adolescence is when depression can kind of start to set in. And that might be a lot younger than we think. But children, they absorb everything that's going on in their atmosphere. So the last year, the pandemic, if families have been, they've lost their jobs, if their industries have been shut down, if they haven't been able to be close to their grandparents, their lives have changed, and they have absorbed everything that's going on in the parents' lives. So if there's been a lot of change, and there's been things that you know they really don't understand, make some time to talk with them about those things. And not that you need to give a full explanation, but just to let them know that you appreciate that they don't understand what's going on, and that if they have questions, that they're always free to reach out to you.
Absolutely.
That's a great place to start.
Absolutely. And you mentioned quite a bit of things right there, but are there any sort of signs maybe parents should be aware of when it comes to maybe evaluating and monitoring their children's mental health to know that everything is okay here?
Absolutely. If you see signs, if you see changes in your child's sleeping patterns, if they can't sleep at all, or they're just sleeping as a way to cope, that's a red flag. If you see a big change in their diet and their nutrition, if they've just gotten to where all they want is sugar, that's a big change. If they're not doing the things that they've always enjoyed doing, they used to love to walk the dog, and now they don't. That's a huge red flag. Use the power of observation. See, what's going on with them. Where are they different? Are they more moody?
No, great points right there. The other thing is going out and seeking out mental health and in terms of help when it comes to all of this. And I feel like over the pandemic, we've done a better job, I think, of normalizing reaching out for help and discussing stuff with a therapist, with anybody out there. But Leigh, at the end of the day, what do you think stops people from going out and seeking help? Is there something out there that basically deters them from going out and seeking that help?
Absolutely. 60% of the people that need mental health treatment don't get it. And it's because of the stigma that's around getting mental health. I love your line when you started, it is okay to not be okay. That's the tagline from my book, Turn Your Brain On to Get Your Game On. But people, we all have this stigma that I don't want anybody to know that about me. They're going to think I'm crazy. And then there's a stigma that comes from society. And then there's a stigma that comes from, on a higher level, organizations or academic institutions. And that's what holds people back. So the best thing to do when you need help is reach out, whether it's a counselor at school, or it's a teacher at school, or it's someone in your church, or it's someone in your family. Just let them know that you think that you might need a little help. Open that door.
Absolutely. On top of all that, the Great Resignation, Leigh, is now entering in its second year. And in many ways, the Great Resignation, for many people, was probably a good thing because it allowed them to sort of reevaluate what their priorities were, if their job was making them unhappy, to go and do something that would be more fulfilling for them. So why was this time so crucial for people to sort of realize what their self-worth was at the end of the day?
Well, honestly, I think that we were all in a spot before the pandemic occurred. 1 out of 4 Americans over the age of 12 before the pandemic was suffering from a mental health illness or a substance use problem. So I think the pandemic just really put the brakes on, and we all stopped and thought about, what are we doing? How are we living our lives?
Such a good point. Leigh, such a pleasure to talk to you as well. Leigh Richardson is the founder and clinical director of the Brain Performance Center.